Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Pert.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today? Good. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Welcome to First Contact Radio. To talk about all these things I'm talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Poet. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. He'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. They'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause it's time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand the truth.
Good morning, Earthlings. Welcome to First Contact Radio. How you doing today? It is time to demand the truth every day. Every day. I hope you just don't wait till today. Hope every day you're demanding the truth. All right. Let's see what we have here. Cosmic weather. Wise. Let's see what we have to deal with today. Alright, what do we have here is, we're on the 7th, so we see two signs, which means what? Void of course moon. Void of course moon means that the transition is taking place from one element to the next, so you're not really feeling the effect of one 100% until it crosses over. So today we're going from Leo, where we are at the moment, until tonight at 10:57 p.m. when we will be transitioning into Virgo. From Leo to Virgo. Leo's an fire sign. Virgo's an earth sign. So we're going from ideas to physical form. Some idea, creative idea, to the form of that idea. Okay? In the tarot cards, the Hermit is the card that represents Virgo, patience and timing. Earth is all about practical things. So just know that during the course of today, we're in that transition phase until this evening. So just plan accordingly. The moon is just slightly past the new moon. Still considered 0% of the way full. We barely see a sliver there. The Mayan Oracle, we are at a 7-tone day. 7 tones are called the resonant tones. Kin for today is the warrior. Guide for today is the star, so today would be the resonant warrior, guided by the star. All of this part of the wave spell of love, loyalty. That is the dog. Phrase for today is, I channel in order to question, inspiring fearlessness. I seal the output of intelligence with the resonant tone of attunement. I am guided by the power of elegance. And today, right here, as we can see, it's one of those galactic activation portal days where 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up and 5 over. That's why the connection. It also is in synchronicity with this one over here, because remember, these 6 columns reflect these 6 columns. So that's why we're at that day. Galactic activation portal days, the energies kind of intensified a little bit more, so opportunity to feel what is going on. Alright, solar wind 434.8 kilometers per second. Planetary K index between a 1 and a 2. Quiet at the moment. Coronal holes as far as this side of the sun goes. We're not really seeing much of anything. Flare possibility low, just like it was yesterday, and geomagnetic storm activity has dropped from where it was. Alright. So that is what is going on. Let's get a little bit more update with space weather here. This is Suspicious Observers Report for today. Here we go.
Good morning, folks of climate extremes. Distant cousin here is the sea surface anomaly. This might seem counterintuitive, but the ocean has a non-homogeneous surface level. Blue is sea level rise, and brown areas actually show lower surface height than normal. Back to the extreme temperature swings. This here is the full 2012 year, above and below average. Notice the heat in the lower 48 and the cold in China. I've spent a good deal of 2013 dissecting the records we've set this year, and in the United States, we've swung cold into the lead by a large margin, precipitation trouncing both of them, by the way. There's no doubt that the Arctic ice is disappearing in record fashion, but as most of that subsurface melt, the extreme swings have hit here too, and this is one of the coldest and shortest summers in many years for the Arctic. Remember that cold in China? Well, now we see dozens dying from heat. Europe isn't immune to that either. Their 2011 winter was brutal, but are seeing super heat waves now, while India adds flash flooding and killer hail to Europe's same story. The rainfall associated with the Central Pacific storms headed for Hawaii here. Henriette is a hurricane, but now is actually likely to miss south of the islands as we expected with Gil. Still a chance, and Hawaii should be wary. Poor Vietnam is the second one of these they've taken in 10 days. Their nation is ripe for landslides and flash flooding. Perth welcoming a storm, while Sydney sends one off, rain moving from the South Island to central New Zealand by tomorrow. Convergence line in Europe is plainly noted. The storms and rain follow this line with the heat waves still cooking east of it. Bit more precipitation on the coastline today. Meanwhile, 100-mile-per-hour microbursts and tornadic cells that dropped last night in the central states will extend east and south as the convergence of southern and northern air masses play their favorite game tonight at sunset. Solar flaring is nil. The only established spot of significance is down south. Got beta polarity, just needs to regroup. Meanwhile, the new sunspots on the southeastern limb appear developed and longitudinally in tandem. The magnetic connections to our star are still spread, but now the subconnectivity is leading down the coronal hole directly facing Earth today. You see how that umbral gap between blue fields opened way up down south? Actually got another little opening up to the north, but frankly, I don't see a coronal hole up there, just down south as an extension of that darker hole on the equator. We have seen our first 6-pointer in days and days. USGS actually says it's a 5.9, but it's still the biggest in over a week. QuakeWatch score today is down to 6, but I don't think it'll get a chance to go much lower. This is Stereo B, showing what Earth will see over the next 2 weeks, and that is a diabolical looking set of coronal holes. Helio Viewer is back and cranking, so shots of our star to close. Eyes open. No fear, it's 6:50 a.m. Eastern Time, and that's the news. Be safe, everyone.
Alright, good report for today. Excellent, excellent, as always. Alright, so let's continue on. The next piece of information is about Bigfoot. So this week, dealing with Bigfoot, I've been looking for all kind of good stuff to play. There's some good stuff out there. There's hoaxes that are out there, as you can imagine. You really have to weed through it. So this is a piece. It's I think this is a pretty good one. Has some good information, and you just see what you think.
Today on Call Out, Columbia Valley Search and Rescue scour the rugged backcountry for a missing field researcher. But there's a twist. The researcher is scouring the backcountry as well for Bigfoot, the legendary Sasquatch.
You don't know who this person is, what they're really like.
Monday, 9 a.m. Columbia Valley SAR manager Steve Talsma receives a call for a missing field researcher.
Hello, Steve speaking.
Todd Standing, a 37-year-old Albertan man, had set out alone on a 5-day expedition near Kootenay National Park. He was reported missing by his colleague 48 hours after their scheduled rendezvous.
In that time frame, he could end up in one of the national parks. He could have crossed into Alberta, and my first thoughts were like he could be anywhere.
The southwestern region of the Canadian Rockies, straddling the BC-Alberta border, is renowned for its beauty and virtually untouched wilderness. Kootenay, Yoho, and Banff National Parks represent close to 8,000 square kilometers of this vast expanse. Access to the area is extremely limited, other than a handful of logging and mining roads.
The details we were given is that he didn't have a tent, but he had a sleeping bag and a tarp. He'd been to this area, but wasn't real familiar with it. Okay, I'll get our team together. And
Then, Steve gets some interesting news.
they went on to say it was someone looking for Sasquatch or Bigfoot, which is, yeah, a strange one.
Bigfoot, also known as Sasquatch, is derived from the word Sesquak, which means wild man in the Coast Salish First Nations language. This mythical ape-like creature is said to be between 2 and 3 meters tall and covered in dark brown or reddish hair. Many skeptics discount its existence, and any sightings to be a combination of folklore, misidentification, and hoax rather than a real animal.
When you Google his name, it comes up, like it finishes his name for you, and then says Bigfoot. You get like Todd, Stay, and then the rest finishes.
Todd had been featured prominently in the media and on numerous websites petitioning for the species protection of Gigantopithecus. His goal for this expedition was to capture high-quality footage of Bigfoot. He and his Sylvanic team had tried on numerous occasions to photograph the furry giant, with marginal success.
What he was looking for was Bigfoot. You don't know who this person is, what they're really like, and not normal for most of us.
Columbia Valley SAR preps their gear and heads out to Kootenai National Park. Once reaching the Mount Assiniboine area, the team checks in with an open-pit mine to see if they had spotted the missing subject. No luck. Next, they check out an outfitter's camp further up the road. Still no sign of Todd. They double back and check out yet another outfitter's camp, but there's still no indication that anyone has been there. The team drives to the nearby trailhead and finds a logbook entry that matches with what Todd's colleague had reported. Finally, some progress.
Most missing people will stick on a trail or near a trail. This gentleman, being a field researcher, his goal was to stay off trail and be hidden. So it really changed our approach and how we were thinking.
It's pretty dense bush here. It'd be hard to find a clue unless you're standing right over it.
With little indication of Todd's intended route, they resort to basic search theory.
He's going to need water. So we had 2 team members go up the trail along the creek, thinking his camp would be somewhere near the water source. One of the team members bent down to tie her shoe, looked up off the trail maybe 20 meters, and there's a sleeping bag.
Base, this is John.
The dog team was sent in to do the initial search. Didn't find anything. Went down to the creek and did a more extensive search along the creek. Again, no sign.
Darkness falls, and the team has no choice but to call off the search until the next morning. They leave Todd's sleeping bag at the trailhead and a note telling them that they're searching for him and to stay put. Tuesday, 5:45 a.m.
Grab your packs, let's go.
Kimberly Search and Rescue has been called out to assist in the search. The team musters at the SAR Hall and heads out to rendezvous with Columbia Valley Search and Rescue in Invermere, a 2-hour drive north from Kimberly.
I had no idea that we had Bigfoot on our side of the mountains here, so I figured it was going to be a pretty interesting search.
So you're going to be lifted into here.
In Invermere, Kimberly SAR get the rundown, then continue on to meet up with the Columbia Valley team already on site. Then the news comes in. The subject has walked out.
They were all pumped up, ready to go, and to get that call, and it's like, oh, geez, didn't even make it.
Yeah, we are up the mountain. Subject has been located, so we're just looking to turn around, but we just want to talk to Steve before we head back.
The teams turn around and head back to base.
At the end of the day, if it's a good outcome like this was, he walked out of the woods on his own, that's okay. We're happy with that.
How are you going to find the most elusive animal on the planet, probably, because science, has virtually no knowledge of this species. How are you going to find it if you're not going to go out into the depths, deep, dark depths of the mountains? You got to get out there. You got to do some work.
Day 1 of Todd's journey to find Bigfoot. He's dropped off at the trailhead, where he'll be picked up 5 days later. He sets up base camp and takes off on his journey.
I only bring what I absolutely have to. So my cameras, I have a little tiny backpack that's just got food in it, and that's it. All my other gear is on my person, and it's tight, and I run, I move. I rock climb when I have to. I jump precipice when I need to. I'll do the best I can to live off the land, like the First Nations people have taught me. So I can survive out there pretty well for a short length of time, My goal was, ultimately to not only get a video shot of the day watcher, but to get into the domicile and start seeing if I could see footprints and maybe hair samples and fecal matter and I don't know what else. Signs of what they're eating, bones maybe they've left behind from animals they've eaten, I don't know.
After a 2-day venture into the backcountry, Todd is successful in finding a Bigfoot domicile, a well-hidden dwelling where Sasquatches live. He carefully approaches, trying not to alarm the unsuspecting occupants, when he spots the Sasquatch.
This guy walked right into an area where I could film him and shoot him, and that's what I got. I know that's a real animal. I know it'll be put through the ringer and whatnot. Eventually, when I can prove the species is real, people will start to understand the reality of it, but it's tremendous evidence for me.
Todd is pleased to have gotten some definitive proof of the elusive giants. Then, he gets an unexpected surprise.
It was a chickadee, a black and white chickadee that gave me away. This chickadee came within about 5 meters or so of me, and he was squawking. I've never seen a chickadee do that. He squawked, and then I could hear the movement around me. When you hear, when you hear, you know, okay, I've been found.
With his cover blown, Todd finds himself surrounded by angry Bigfoots.
What happened was he stopped me from going up the corridor. 2 at least came around behind me, picked up my trail, followed up behind, and when they dialed in on me, he moved back, and the game was over. Now it's get out of there. There's probably 3 different ways I can leave this area. If I don't leave the right way, they let me know, because things start coming down the mountain, right? And the intimidation starts. So, okay, I'll go this way. How's that sound? And, you know, they like that, so let me go.
As Todd exits the domicile, he manages to capture some evidence of Bigfoot intimidation tactics, as a boulder is thrown at him.
And you see it go by you and smash and crash in the ground. You start thinking, you know, like this is, you know, I don't want to mess with these guys. Period. You'll also see like a 400-pound log that was thrown at me. I'd love to have one of those skeptics there when I'm being pushed out of a domicile. You come out and experience what I've seen, you will be a believer. You don't need to see film. You don't need to have hair come back, analyze the DNA unknown primate. You will realize really fast, bears don't do that. Cougars can't do that. A man couldn't do that, period. Unless he had, I don't know, a whole crew out there with slingshots and special, you know, the whole Roman Empire is using, you know, it's just not going to happen.
Within a few hours of his retreat from the Sasquatch domicile, he's confronted by a grizzly bear.
He was looking at me. He was dialed in on me.
Todd gets out of there.
I went fast, keeping him in mind where he was. And then I hit the rock face. I started to rock climb, got to a spot in the mountain where I felt relatively safe. I never saw the bear after that at all.
After his grisly experience, Todd tries to get some sleep. By now, Todd's colleague had come and gone. Search and rescue was on site, and Todd could see them in the valley below.
They were in unmarked vehicles, and I could see them, but I had no idea they were there for me. I just thought they were hunters. And so I saw them there. They were there for a while. They left. The next day came. I saw those 2 vehicles drive up again, so I just went down the mountain.
Todd meets up with a very surprised search and rescue team.
They were just very reassuring. They took extremely good care of me. The RCMP, they grilled me about, you know, everything that had gone on.
This is the tree line that becomes a maze that bears, black bears, and grizzly bears love because they're fantastic ambush spots. And this tree maze goes all the way around.
There was a grizzly bear. You know, there were tracks for the bear. How do you hoax a wild grizzly bear coming up on you just at the worst possible time?
Indeed. No sooner does he escape a band of angry Bigfoot than he's being chased by a wild grizzly bear.
I wouldn't play a game with that. It's not funny. I take this so seriously because, you know, search and rescue might get called. You know, the police might get involved, and that's very, very serious.
We're not here to judge. We got called for a missing person. We responded for a missing person. At the end of the day, he walked out. He was healthy. He was fine, and he got to go home. And I guess that's all that we can hope for.
All right, so there you go. So for you to decide, was he really chased by a Bigfoot? I don't know. Or is he just saying that? Sounds pretty interesting. Sounds pretty cool. I'll have some more stuff next 2 days on Bigfoot, and there you have it. So that's it. UFO News is up next.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
Right, Dirk, thank you very much. Today's UFO news has 5 stories, so let's get over to them. Story.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
I seem to have lost my section here where the news goes. Let me figure this out for a minute here, folks. How to replace this back here for you. Let me see. Hang with me. Here we go. For a second.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
Alright, here we go. Okay, 5 stories for today. Story number 1 comes to us from Belgium. This is amazing UFO hiding in a cloud. This was taken last month on the 25th. Alright. Sure, this looks like a cloud, but that's because the cloaked UFO inside created to hide inside. Watch the glowing of the cloud and then it flickers from within. This should be impossible, and yet it's here on video. Lightning does not last more than a split second, so there is some kind of powerful energy source hiding to create this light. Aliens depend on human beings being naive compared to the extraordinary intelligence. Don't be naive, look for them. Look to the sky for their ships, and one day you may catch something that cannot be given any reasonable scientific explanation other than the existence of aliens. So there you go. That's pretty interesting. Now if you looked up and you saw that, certainly give you food for thought, wouldn't it? Okay. So there's story number 1. Story number 2 comes to us from the ISS. This time we have a couple of objects that are up there. So remember, we've seen tons of different types of objects out there. To see this at its best, you really need to click the link above and have to look at it. It's amazing, caught by accident by NASA. These glowing UFOs seem to be following one another into Earth's atmosphere. There's a lot of secrecy over the objects that orbit Earth. Some even say that the objects that orbit Earth are dark night satellites, a system placed there thousands of years ago by aliens. Alright. So, objects right there. So what do you think that is? And you've seen enough things now to realize there's something going on out there, right? Moving on. Giant rod passes across Japan volcano on August 2nd, 2013. This rod got caught on live cam in Japan this week. Volcanoes have been carefully watched by ufologists worldwide in hopes of seeing UFOs coming out of the craters on live internet cams. Rods are believed to be living creatures whose purpose is to send and receive messages and conduct research, much like a drone gathers intel. Okay. There's our... We're flying right over it. Now that thing looked like it moved so fast that it's hard to really tell if that was what that was. It could be a tube. Yeah, it kind of looks like a tube, but maybe it's something else. But pretty cool. Check it out, see what you think. Moving on. This one here is another crop circle. This was in Devizes, Wiltshire, UK. These 2 new crop circles were found in Wiltshire on the 1st and the 6th. So that's a pretty good one here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's go back and look at that for again. Okay, what do we have here? We've got okay, the big circle, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 out here. And then inside 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and a 10th one here. So we got 10 circles in here, 9 out here, and then 1 here. So 20 circles all together. I don't know what this means, but something to look at and see if we can figure it out. And then the other crop circle is, where's the other one here? There we go. This one's also pretty complex. We have, what kind of patterns do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Again, 10. And then we've got the cube in the middle. That's a cube of space, cube of time. So something to look at. See if what your thoughts are on these. All right, most interesting, and moving on. Very last story here. This is called The Continuing Curiosity of the Roswell Incident. It's written by Dennis Balthazar. Dennis Balthazar is a longtime researcher out there in Roswell. I've gotten to know him on my trips out there. Really, really great guy and awesome researcher, and the information that he puts out, and really good quality stuff. So if you get a chance to familiarize yourself with any of Dennis's work, I would highly recommend it. Says, when asked how I became interested in UFOs, which I'm asked a lot, my answer is always the same. Some 30 years ago, I would lie in my backyard and look up at the night sky and wondered what might be out there. I've never been egotistical enough to think that we're the only thing in this vast universe that our Earth is a small part of. Like everyone else, I was raised in a box, fed information by my parents, teachers, and others, but at some point I decided to get out of the box and look at other possibilities, including the possibility that other life forms surely exist out there somewhere. That has taken me on a fantastic journey, continually looking for answers to the age-old question, are we alone in the universe and are truly different and unique from anything else? Having been around for the past 71 plus years, I also realize that life does exist out there somewhere. It surely has to be much more advanced than we are here on Earth, which might not require much. Considering the technology we have achieved within the last 50 years is, however, truly amazing. And even with the technology, we can't yet go out there. If some life form is able to come here from wherever they might be from, they could and probably would be 100, 1,000, or even 10,000 years ahead of us technologically. Many times at lectures or doing Roswell tours, people ask me, why don't they communicate with us if they are coming here? My answer, simple answer, is why would they want to? I don't go to my backyard and talk to insects, which I think would be similar comparison with them and us. I remember researcher Stanton Friedman once saying that the intelligent, wise humans are trying to get into the preschool of the universe. We're probably not the smartest kids on the block. So there's just a little sample of this article. You can see there's a bunch more. But check it out. See what you think. Alright, that's our UFO news for today. I will be right back momentarily.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth. People shouldn't be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid.
Continuing on. So the first piece I want to get to now is I want to go to Ron Paul. Haven't done anything on Ron Paul in a little bit, so this is a piece. It's at InfoWars. It says Ron Paul, Benghazi was an arms deal to Al-Qaeda. So let's listen to what he has to say. I'm jumping in right after the little intro. So here we go.
Minutes, but the congressman joins us to get into foreign policy, the meltdown of the Middle East, the funding of Al-Qaeda openly. I'm going to get into the Federal Reserve and what's happening with the bonds right now, billions being lost a day. And we're also going to look at the things that Ron Paul, myself, and others have talked about for decades and that we were ridiculed for, why it's all mainstream news now. So do we get any credit? No, we get attacked even more. Dr. Paul, thanks for coming on with us.
Good to be with you again.
Wow, so much is happening. First and foremost, you told him so again on foreign policy. What's happening there?
Well, same old things, only worse. You know, the whole idea that we continue to finance our enemies and our friends, and then our friends become our enemy, and nobody knows whose side they're on. That's why the argument for a non-interventionist foreign policy is so good, because there's always this flip-flopping. We support dictators for years and years and spend billions of dollars. And then, of course, when we get tired of them or they turn on us, then we look for a new dictator. You know, this craziness in Egypt, we demand that they have an election. They elect somebody we don't like, so then we have to send the weapons to the military, and then they have a military coup. So it goes on and on. And right now, of course, one of the big issues is whether or not we'll get to the bottom of the truth on Benghazi. But it shouldn't take too much of intelligence to figure out that our CIA is just about every place in the world, and they were very much involved. But if we have the direct evidence that they were in Benghazi, and one of the reason our ambassador was there because he was sending weapons directly to a group of people that we wanted to throw over Assad in Syria. But the foolishness is that we send it to Al-Qaeda. You know, at one time they're our arch enemy. They're wanting to kill us, but then we turn around, and we've done that in Afghanistan. We've sent money to the Taliban and sort of bribed them to give us protection, and then we get our weapons through, and then they go and fight and kill each other. So I think it's ongoing. It's very foolish, and it's really a big issue in a way our country has become bankrupt too.
Well, it's almost like a snake eating its tail, because Janet Napolitano, outgoing head of Homeland Security, says 4 years ago, the new threats, gun owners, libertarians, conservatives, anti-war people, basically anybody with a political view outside of Washington orthodoxy, and that's the new threat. And then they say Al-Qaeda's not the threat. They're helping us in Libya and Syria. Then they say, we've got to shut down all the embassies. And even the New York Times today admits that basically they put out these terror alerts to distract from the NSA news. That is simply amazing. How long can this disjointed, helter-skelter narrative continue to work, or is it not working now?
Well, it's not amazing that this is the truth. It's amazing. I think the New York Times would admit it. But, you know, I think most of us, when we saw that and all the NSA was on the defense that they were closing its embassies, and they say, there were 50 attacks planned. We just saved us. You know, saved the country from it to prove that they're snooping and all this spying on Americans does some good. But, you know, they claim successes. They're all built on lies. And you heard the story where the testimony was that, yes, there were 54 saves that they prevented from happening. And then when they talked to the assistant NSA official, he says, "Oh no, maybe one, but I even doubt that." So it's all based on lies, and I think this is probably a benefit to us that most Americans now are becoming very, very leery of what our government tells us, and it's a terrible thing to have to go through because who wants to give up on their country? We don't want to give up on our country, but I think it's high time we gave up on a lot of our politicians and the way our government's being run.
Okay, so some of the things that you heard in there were Al-Qaeda and CIA. Now, remember how we've talked about the Al-Qaeda and the CIA and said they're the same thing? So now that you've heard the story that both the Al-Qaeda and the CIA were involved in Benghazi, kind of confirms a little bit more of all that's been said about the connection between the CIA and the Al-CIA, duh. They're the same organization. They're all connected, okay? It's a game. Now, this is going to play into this next story right here because this is an article that sums it all up. Washington thinks you are stupid. This is from Paul Craig Roberts. There's an old saying out there that if the government fears the people, there is liberty. But if the people fear the government, there is tyranny. The criminals in Washington not only do not fear us, they do not respect us. Washington looks upon Americans as stupid sheeple. Washington believes that it can tell the population anything and the people will believe it. For example, the official line is that the recession that began in December 2007 ended in June 2009. Many Americans believe this, even though they have not personally experienced economic recovery. Indeed, they are sinking further into poverty and near poverty. And don't forget the non-existent weapons of mass destruction that Saddam Hussein was alleged by Washington possessed, or the Gulf of Tonkin fake event when Washington claimed that its warship was attacked by North Vietnam. Really? The list of official lies is very long, Anyone who believes anything that Washington says is too naive to be out of the house alone. But Americans believe the lies because that is what they think patriotism requires. Relying on the proven gullibility of the bulk of the U.S. population, Washington claims to have uncovered an Al-Qaeda plot to attack U.S. embassies across North Africa and Middle East. To foil the plot, Washington closed 19 embassies for the past week, and for this week also. Washington has not explained how closing the embassies foils the plot. If Al-Qaeda wants to blow up the embassies, it can blow them up whether they are open or closed. If Al-Qaeda wants to kill the embassy personnel, they can kill them at home or on the way to work or later in the embassies when the alert passes. I only check in with the prostitute media in order to ascertain whether my current estimate of their prostitution for Washington is accurate. Possibly I missed some expression of skepticism about the latest terrorism threat. But I did hear NPR's account. Back in the Reagan years, NPR was an independent voice. Today, it is part of the prostitute media. NPR lies for Washington with the best of them. The U.S. media has ignored the obvious fact that as soon as the American population, Congress, and Washington's puppet allies such as Germany made an issue over the NSA's clearly unconstitutional and total illegal spying, universal spying, the Obama regime pushed the fear button and hyped a new terror plot in order to shut up critics and bring Congress and Germany back in line. Washington proclaimed a threat that was discovered that Al-Qaeda, an organization that Washington is using in Washington's effort to overthrow the Assad government in Syria, is the one that enshrined the U.S. military contacts to affiliated groups in Afghanistan and was going to blow up U.S. embassies in the Middle East and North Africa. Washington did not explain why Al-Qaeda, a recipient of Washington's largesse, was going to turn off the money spigot by attacking U.S. embassies. Well, I can go on and on. Articles there. Again, they think you're stupid and not knowing this. And you know what? You know why they think you're stupid? Because, for the most part, many people are. Many people listen to the lies that they are told and they accept them. Now, I don't know why. I know people hear what they're told. I know people listen, but they're not really paying attention. And they're accepting for face value. I don't know why, but little by little, people will wake up. Now, there's a problem we've got going on. I'm going to address an issue, and again, I'm giving the thing. I'm white, and I'm going to talk about a black-white issue here. Doesn't mean I'm racist. It means I'm going to talk about an issue. Okay? That's it. So, the other day, Oprah Winfrey made a comment, and I've heard a number of complaints about this comment that she made, which is why I'm going to weigh in on this issue. She made a comment that the Trayvon Martin case was just like, in her mind, was just like the Emmett Till case. Now, I don't know if you know about Emmett Till. I'm going to tell you about that. And I'm going to tell you and show you how these two cases are not even alike. So the question is, why would Oprah say something like this? I don't understand. But let me get into this here. Let me get into show you. Okay? We all know about what happened with Trayvon Martin, right? Trayvon Martin was a guy who was out of his house by himself. He went to the store, made a purchase. On his way home, he discovered that he was being followed. At one point, he stopped his way home, turned around, and then went and confronted his attacker, confronted the person following him, Zimmerman. The two got into a fight. At one point, Trayvon Martin apparently was getting the best of Zimmerman, which means he was winning the fight. He was throwing the punches down, and he ended up getting shot, which we are told was in an issue of self-defense from Zimmerman. Okay? That's what we are told what happened. A guy out on his own, returned back to the scene, and did this. Now, Oprah, the other day, said that the Emmett Till case was just like that. Let's look at what the Emmett Till case was and realize, and you'll see that the two have nothing alike. Okay? Emmett Till was an African-American boy who was murdered in Mississippi at the age of 14 after reportedly flirting with a white woman. Till was from Chicago, Illinois, visiting relatives in Money, Mississippi at the Mississippi Delta region when he spoke to a 21-year-old Carolyn Bryant, the married proprietor of a small grocery store. Several nights later, Bryant's husband, Roy, and his half-brother, J.W. Milam, arrived at the Till's great-uncle's house, where they took him from the house, okay, transported him to a barn, beat him, gouged out one of his eyes before shooting him in the head and disposing of his body in the Tachahachi River, weighing it with a 70-pound cotton gin fan tied around his neck with barbed wire. So, that's what happened with Emmett Till. Does that sound anything at all like what happened with the Trayvon Martin case? Absolutely not. Emmett Till was dragged from his house. Trayvon Martin was out on his own. Emmett Till and Trayvon Martin have nothing in relation to each other. So why would Oprah say something like that? It just goes to show that no matter how much money you have, you still don't necessarily pay attention to history, because all it takes is looking at the history to see what happened. So if she's not looking at history, what is she doing? Is she baiting a race war here? Is she just another one of those who's baiting a race war for some reason? I don't understand what the problem is between the blacks and the white in this country. I don't understand when I hear blacks tell whites that they can't be racist, that black people can't be racist. I don't understand why black people keep saying that they don't like slaves, they don't like the N-word, but yet you hear so many of them call each other the N-word all the time. I don't understand that. I know other people don't understand that. It's kind of confusing. But I also know that amongst each race on this planet, there are many, many more people who are part of that race that have risen above that racial attitude. It would be nice if everyone did. It certainly would be nice. But for some reason, we don't have that situation. We have leaders and people who are in the public eye which are pushing a button of racism for some reason. And all it takes is just a simple look at history. All Oprah had to do was go look. You can't tell me that this woman, as intelligent as she is, doesn't really understand the true history of this story of Emmett Till. You can't tell me that she doesn't. So I don't understand why she would try to compare that event to the Trayvon Martin, which has nothing to do with each other. Again, something for you to consider. I don't understand why, but I think they're pushing a racism button again, and we just have to make sure we don't fall for it. I know for most out there, most of you aren't going to fall for it. But there's that minority amongst all of the races which are still caught in that small-minded attitude, and they're still caught up in the problem with another person's skin color. Get over it already. Believe me, there's many more colors of skin out there in the universe, and if you're having problems with the ones on this planet, you're really going to have a problem when you start seeing other skin colors other than the ones down here. So just get on with your life. Get over it. There's different skin colors. That's just the way it is. But we're all have the same inside. We're all created by the same creator. That's the important part. So forget about the superficial. Let's get to the important stuff. And maybe, hopefully, our leaders, the people in the world, I don't even want to call them leaders, but the people who are in the public eye like the Obamas and the Oprah Winfreys and the Sharptons, hopefully they will stop pushing the race button. Hopefully they will stop doing that. I'm not really expecting that's going to happen because it seems to be a good tactic that they like to use. But that's my 2 cents on the matter. Anyway, next. This here is about a mysterious hum. We've all heard this, or a lot of people have talked about this mysterious hum they've been hearing around the world, right? So, it says, mysterious hum heard worldwide, a mind control operation by U.S. and U.S. governments. It seems this year we have yet another strange acoustic event taking place on a worldwide scale, replacing that of the trumpet sounds repeated during the latter half of 2011-2012, this time with a low-pitched hum heard by about 1 of every 50 and mostly experienced by older people above 50 years of age. The sound itself resembles that of Taos, New Mexico, which has been heard for over 2 decades in the area. Contrary to the strange sounds of trumpets reported around the world, the hum is a phenomenon. I, too, am familiar with having heard it occasionally in different areas of the U.S. since 1990. Personally, I haven't heard it for about 12 years. The sound of a low-pitched hum that seems to emanate from whatever structure you happen to be in at the time. It's most likely rarely experienced outside of an open area. It seems to need something constructed such as a house, building, etc. to bounce off or interact with. Thus we must conclude that the hum is not a sound per se, but a vibration which causes the perception of sound when it interacts with the structure. If you happen to have experienced the hum, you may have noticed that the perception of sound can be very high. when your head is at a certain angle, but when you turn your head just the slightest, the sound seems to be either drastically reduced or disappears entirely. This suggests that the vibration have a geographical point of origin and are not coming from every direction. With this in mind, we must conclude that the vibrations have a particular point of origin. Since the event is taking place on a world scale, one must also deduce that there are many points of origin rather than one central area where they are produced. This also indicates that the vibrations are very likely a manufactured event rather than naturally produced by the planet itself. If the vibrations are being produced by humans, we must realize off the top that such an endeavor would be too large for average people to pull off on a scale the hum is being experienced the world over. Thus, we have to assume the governments are involved. The hum is experienced mostly in the US, UK, Australia, and scattered among the Mediterranean sea coast, and in some of the areas in the world on a much lesser extent. Interestingly, the hum seems to have not been experienced in Russia or China. This indicates that US and UK are the countries responsible for manufacturing the vibrations, since it would be impossible for the US and the UK to install equipment necessary for producing the vibrations in either of these two countries. Since vibrations can be used to manipulate the mind, we must realize that the hum is being used as a tool to influence people's thinking on a massive scale. More of an explanation of how governments are achieving this are at this link. Alright, so I'm going to leave that story right there because there's a lot more to the article, but this ties into all of the mind control stuff that we talked about. Remember Project Bluebeam? Project Bluebeam has several parts to it. One part is to use technology, electronic technology, possibly HARP technology, to create patterns that are going to go in vibrations that you will hear to think that you're hearing some sort of spiritual message or someone's talking to you. They want to get into your head. You've heard DARPA come out and talk about these programs where they're learning how to place messages in people's heads. This is real. This is what they are doing. Most people have no clue about what's going on. They go through life just not even paying attention. You know, the other day in Los Angeles, I didn't get any pictures. I should have. But there were some of the strangest cloud formations going on here. At first, there were these, when I looked up, I was seeing clouds that were like almost like a horseshoe. And I realized that there was a plane up there, and it looked like it was creating these chemtrails, and there were tons of them. But the strange thing about it was as these chemtrails would dissipate, there were some of the strangest shapes that were coming off of these clouds. They weren't looking like normal clouds. And I was walking down the street, and I was just looking up at this. And people would walk by and look at me, wondering what I was looking up at. But nobody was looking up at the sky. Nobody else was looking up. And I was just wondering and noticing how people just walk on by and they don't pay attention on a daily basis what's going on around them. There's something going on. There's something definitely going on. You know, there's a interview out there I was listening to. I believe the person's name was Patty Broussard, and I was listening to the interview. It was on Veritas Radio the other day. According to Patty, Nibiru is out there, is coming closer, and that there are times and there are alignments with Nibiru, the sun, and that system with Earth, and at those times there are heavy earthquakes that are occurring. And now there's another alignment coming up, according to her, between the 17th and the 26th of this month. She says, he or she, Patty says that what's going to be going on with this is that there's going to be an earthquake upwards of a 15 magnitude. 15 magnitude, and I believe that she said that it could be situated and could hit around the Seattle area. Now, take it for what you will. I don't know the reality of this. Haven't heard any of this person's work before. All I know is this is a recent interview that's out there, and so if you happen to hear it, this is the talk. That Nibiru is out there, that it's coming closer, and that there's a huge earthquake that could be happening down here within the last half of this month. In that, it's also said that they're saying that the coast will be lines will be destroyed, and the country is going to be in havoc, and that the FEMA camps and all the stuff that are out there are in order to facilitate those who will be running chaotically afterwards. Well, the military and all of those will be in their deep underground military bases and so on. So, something to check out. We'll look into this further just to see what the reality is. But hey, if there's a 15-point earthquake coming, what can we do about it? really can't do much of anything. We got to stay connected to spirit. That's the only thing that we can do. Stay connected to spirit. Stay connected to that source so you know where you need to be at the moment you need to be there. That's all you can do. And then we just need to trust. We need to trust because there are brothers and sisters out there in space that do want to help us. They don't want to hurt us. There are those out there that have problems, but there are those good ones that want to help us. And we need to learn to differentiate between the good guys and the bad guys. If we just point our fingers and say, Galactic Federation all bad, we might be missing out on something very important. We can't. Can we afford to do that is the question I have to ask. Can we afford? Let's say Earth is hit with a huge earthquake, and Earth is flooding. And you have an opportunity to either get on a ship or stay and drown in the flood. What are you going to choose? I don't know. Hypothetical situation. But we need to consider the possibilities because, again, these are realities. And every day you're seeing more UFO reports. Every day you're hearing more confirmation about things and stories that were told in the past that have come true. So all of this talk is leading to somewhere. All of this evidence is leading to somewhere. Point is, where? Well, we have to use our discernment so that when the time comes, we know what to do. We can't just listen to those in the media who are telling us what to think about this. Please don't listen to those in the media because they have no clue. Okay? Bill O'Reilly is not going to tell you the truth. Anderson Cooper or Cooper Anderson, whatever his name is, he's not going to tell you the truth. What's her name on MSNBC? She's not going to tell you the truth. None of them. They have no vested interest in telling you the truth. So if you go to those stations expecting to tell the truth, you might as well just go and bang your head against a wall because you'd have better results. At least then you'd get a wake-up call realizing that you're not going to get any information and you might move on. There's better sources than the mainstream news. Please stop listening to them. They're only lying to you. They're only misinforming you and confusing you. You'd be much better off to turn off the TV, go on the internet, find sources there. Learn, think for yourself. It's real easy. Those who are doing it understand exactly what I'm talking about. And I know there's a lot of you thinking for yourself, so, don't think I think otherwise. All right, what we have here now is our angel message for today, and it says, abundance can be yours. Picture it, relax, and imagine it being yours. Then release any negativity to it so that we can bring it to you. Abundance can be yours. Picture it, relax, and imagine it being yours, and then release any negativity to it so that we can bring it to you. Very nice message. Nice message indeed. All right. And that brings us to our Galactic Federation of Light message from today. This is Lady Nada. Again, if you're not certain about the organization of the Galactic Federation of Light, that's okay. Listen to the message, listen to the words. That's the important part, because all of these messages are talking about how your soul can evolve during this time of transition. Take from it that, okay? You don't need to decide whether you're going to get up on their ships or not at this point in time. All that is being required of you is listen to their message and to see if what they're saying is something that is going to help you on a soul level. That's it. That's all you need to do with this information at this point in time. So here we go.
Lady Nada, you have reached a turning point for yourselves in this ascension process.
As channeled through Franzapeta, August 5, 2013.
Hello dear ones. Well, we are achieving much together, you in the celestial realm. You are not completely always aware of your parts in this grand awakening, but indeed you are each such an important part, and we congratulate you for entering into this unknown venture, or so it seems at times. Yet you really know deep inside what the venture is, and it engulfs you daily with more and more promise of your immersion into a new era. My dears, my illustrious travelers into the unknown, you are made of such illumination and promise. You don't always know it. But it is there, always, that divinity, that core of you that you are uncovering and merging with daily. And yes, sometimes it takes a toll on your body, and sometimes it takes a toll on your attitude and sense of trust, but my dears, you courageously reach down every day for that essence to carry you through. Nothing else really matters. Keep reaching, dear ones, for it shall open up your world in an even grander way with each effort you make. Suffice to say that you have reached a turning point for yourselves in this ascension process, and it is unfolding at an even greater rate now as we speak. Allow yourselves to be caught up in this spiral of change while maintaining your center, at the center of your heart where all is created and all is remembered and all is part of your illustrious future, the future that you have already lived and are living in now, dear ones. While this may be a little mind-boggling, go with it. Step into the tunnel from your heart that leads to your Christ self, that is always there and always waiting. The expansion is evident. The expansion is emerging. The expansion is such a part of you now that you cannot deny it. Go with it, dear ones. Play with it, and be within this expanded heart space that you have allowed and are allowing with the recent energy surges. Push out the boundaries evermore. Be light within it, be the light within it. Take it one step further each day, as your capacity to expand increases. Stay within the eye of the storm, so to speak. It is safe there. It is all you are. The distractions are merely wanting to pull you out of it, but stay strong and centered within your heart space and be there, while you observe and experience what is going on around you, always discerning what is real and what is illusion. Your abilities to discern are growing, dear ones. They are serving you well. You know the truth now, dear ones. It beckons you and sustains you. It is your emerging divine essence stabilizing within you, from which all is colored and edged right now. Stay with it and immerse yourselves within it, for it is not your call right now to deny it. It is not in your highest good to deny it. It is not in others' highest good to deny it. You are emerging, dear ones, and for that you can be grateful, and it shall sustain you in the coming days of ever more expansion and influx of energies. You are being lit up like beacons now, for all to see and follow, and it is in the peace of that you are sustained. The glory of your essence is emerging and has so many possibilities of illumination and creation right now. Sit with that and allow that, dear ones. For the time is nigh to be completely immersed in the habit of always coming back to your center and embracing it. Many of you have cleared so much and cleared others as well. You are entering into a new phase of actualization now, that which your new DNA encodements allow you to be. You feel new and strange all at the same time, and for that, please be grateful. For it brings even more alignment thus in that gratitude. For now you sail along with your newfound energy, speeding along to even more completeness and wholeness within yourself. Finding your true self is your job. And the exploring is just beginning for many of you. And the exploring continues for the others. You are all at different stages at discovering yourselves. And the stage is set for each one of you to move forward in the path you have chosen, all the while fitting into the whole to complete a bigger picture designed for the greater good of all. And the journey continues, dear ones. And we are with you, all of the company of heaven. And we support you and we love you. Know that, deep in your hearts, for you are one of us as we are you, and forever you grow into that awareness, that we are all one. We leave you now with this beautiful portrait of your being. You are so magnificent. You are so grand. You are so loved. Go in peace, dear ones. Namaste. We honor and greet the divinity in you, your rightful ownership and gift. Thank you to Lady Nada and the company of heaven.
Message. Very nice message as always. Alright, so let's move on now to our meditation for today. Alright, so let's work for today's meditation. You know what? Let's look at the issue of discernment, okay? So let's look at that. I'm just waiting for this little commercial here to get over. Alright. So go ahead and close your eyes. Take a deep breath. And exhale. Take another deep breath. And exhale again. I want you to imagine that you are out in the middle of a large open space, looking at the world. And as you look around at the world, you're able to see all that the world has to offer. You see the modern advances of society, and you look at all that we have created over the years, and you realize we've progressed much in a short period of time. And as you look at all of what's going on in the world, you turn your attention to the newspaper headlines, the stories on the news, the words coming out from the leaders, and you hear a variety of stories that conflict and contradict each other, to the point where you don't know what to believe, what to think. At that point, a giant shower head appears over you, and the water washes over you, and as it does, it washes and cleanses the dirt from your eyes, and you're able to look at things from a new perspective. And as you look around at the same stories and hear the same bits of information, now that your eyes are open, you see things clearer for what they are. Your gift of discernment has kicked in. You see the lies for the lies, and you realize that they are lies, no matter how they are trying to pose them. You realize that the truth is being hidden, and you're able to look past the illusion to see the truth. And as you walk through life, no matter what the situation is, you're able to clearly decipher the truth from the lie. And sadly, you find that there has been many lies that have been told to you. But you are encouraged to know that now that your eyes are open, you cannot be lied to anymore. And as your eyes open and other eyes open, and more people see what's going on, those that are creating the lies, they become weaker and weaker. Their lies become more fragile, till eventually they crumble and they dissipate and disappear from the planet. Because truth, my friends, truth has truly set us free. And in the world of truth, there is no room for the liars, the deceivers, the thieves, and the crooks. Therefore, there is no need for all of those corrupt politicians, angry security personnel and police, unscrupulous bankers, and all the other problem makers. Let's imagine that they have all disappeared from this planet. And let's imagine that this planet grows strong with truth and with love. So let's bring our conscious mind back to the present moment while our subconscious mind continues on its journey exploring the truth. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale. And open your eyes. There you have it, my friends. That is our show for today. Thank you again for being here. I'll be back tomorrow with more news and information. Have an awesome day, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.